National parks today are special sites of beauty that people love to visit and behold. They spend long hours gaping at the many natural wonders, plants, and animals the park sustains. However, before 1872, these vacation destinations we now love were just parcels of land available to be privately owned or destroyed. Establishing Yellowstone as the world's first national park crossed a monumental frontier in land conservation. The groundbreaking decision to place Yellowstone under federal protection was justified by how it benefited and continues to benefit the environment, the general public, and living species. Because Yellowstone became a national park, natural wonders are preserved for all to enjoy, and species are protected from unnatural interference. Yellowstone pioneered the way for future federally protected parks to be formed, protecting unique wonders around the world. No one knows exactly who first discovered the land Yellowstone now occupies. The current area of Yellowstone National Park is 3,472 square miles. 96% of the park is in Wyoming, 3% is in Montana, and 1% is in Idaho. It is believed that indigenous tribes of Native Americans, like the Ojatishikovin, lived on this land dating back thousands of years. Around the early to mid-1800s, news of European American explorations to a place with geysers and wonders spread. However, when these stories were told to newspapers and journalists, few believed and were willing to publish their stories. When one explorer submitted his findings to a local newspaper, the editor replied, "Thank you, but we do not print fiction." In spite of this, when word of these expeditions reached Ferdinand V. Hayden, head of the U.S. Geological Survey, he took interest. He convinced Congress to allot $40,000 to fund a federal expedition. Hayden and 31 other men, including artists, photographers, botanists, and journalists, left on June 1, 1871. During their trip, Hayden and his team discovered a gorgeous land of unique wonders. Upon his return, Hayden wrote a 500-page report of their findings, which included a detailed analysis of their journey, pictures, drawings, specimens, and maps of the area. Hayden presented his report to Congress for review. As Hayden said in an article he wrote for Scribner's Monthly, "Indeed, it is quite impossible for anyone to do justice to the remarkable physical phenomena of this valley by any description, however vivid. It is only through the eye that the mind can form anything like an adequate conception of their beauty." Hayden's report inspired a bill to preserve Yellowstone. The bill was brought up for debate in Congress in January 1872. Most members of the Senate and House of Representatives were in favor of passing the bill. However, some objected, arguing that Yellowstone should not be controlled by the government. During the debate, John Taft, the chairman of the Committee on Territories, posed a new question. "I desire to ask the gentleman a question," he said, "and it is whether this measure does not interfere with the Sioux or the Ojatishikovin Reservation." The Ojatishikovin had been using Yellowstone as a hunting ground and home for thousands of years, long before European Americans even knew Yellowstone existed. Despite bringing this concern to light, the rights of Native Americans were blatantly ignored, as others argued that the federal government reserved the right to take native lands and use them for their own purposes. The vote was a bipartisan majority and passed, even though, as the current superintendent of Yellowstone National Park, Cam Shawley, says, not a single member of Congress at the time had actually been on the ground here in Yellowstone, and so they created Yellowstone off of written reports and paintings. The bill was then put on President Ulysses S. Grant's desk, and on March 1, 1872, he signed the Yellowstone National Park Protection Act into law, crossing a frontier by creating the world's first national park. The Yellowstone National Park Protection Act is an act to set apart a certain tract of land lying near the headwaters of the Yellowstone River as a public park. The act is split into two sections. The first section outlines the territory of Yellowstone and declares that it is now federal property. It states that the area of Yellowstone is hereby reserved and withdrawn from settlement, occupancy, or sale under the laws of the United States and dedicated and set apart as a public park or pleasure ground for the benefit and enjoyment of the people. The second section outlines what it means for the land of Yellowstone to be a national park. Official rules and regulations were also set up. They shall provide for the preservation from injury or spoliation of all timber, mineral deposits, natural curiosities, or wonders within said park, and their retention in their natural condition. After Yellowstone National Park was established, some argue that the creation of the national park took away some of their rights as Americans. They felt that Yellowstone should be land for people to own, hunt, and live on. One California newspaper argued, "The policy of setting apart so large an area of the public domain for the exclusive delights of the rich, shutting out actual settlers and cultivators, is un-American." Others were concerned about allowing the federal government too much power over the land. However, some saw it as an unusual but extraordinary creation. Naturalist John Muir stated, "The withdrawal of this large tract from the public domain did no harm to anyone." Yellowstone National Park even went on to be called America's best idea. Yellowstone National Park is made up of mountains, rivers, lakes, canyons, hotspots, and waterfalls. The name Yellowstone comes from the ochre-colored sandstone that lines the edge of Yellowstone's main river. The park also contains many unique natural wonders, including 300 geysers, over 1/4 of the geysers in the world. The area is home to many different species of animals, including elk, bison, grizzly bears, bald eagles, cougars, and bighorn sheep. 13 tree species flourish there, including the lodgepole pine and the aspen, along with 1,000 species of flowering plants, such as mountain bluebell and Indian paintbrush. Yellowstone becoming a national park has been beneficial to the Yellowstone ecosystem. Yellowstone's natural wonders are now available for the public to see and enjoy. The federal government has protected its living species and geological features from being destroyed or exploited. As the park's rules and regulations states, hunting, trapping, and fishing are prohibited by law. These rules keep the animal populations safe from human interference. Yellowstone is home to one of the few grizzly bear populations in the lower 48 states. In many other places, these bears were hunted or killed, severely decreasing their population. Yellowstone National Park's laws, however, have kept these grizzly bears safe, protecting the population from extinction. As John Muir noted, under this care, the forests are flourishing, protected from both axe and fire. The so-called curiosities also are preserved, and the furred and feathered tribes, many of which, in danger of extinction a short time ago, are now increasing in numbers, a refreshing thing to see amid the blind, ruthless destruction that is going on in the adjacent regions. By crossing a frontier in land conservation and becoming the first national park, Yellowstone paved the way for future national parks to be established. As naturalist George Bumman says, "The park has been a global leader in establishing the range of possibilities and approaches to caring for wild animals and landscapes." Because of Yellowstone's success as a national park, many other national parks have been created all around the world to protect untamed environments. They have continued to protect endangered species and unique geological features. Yellowstone was also a large contributing factor for the creation of the National Park Service, a service dedicated to the protection and preservation of national parks in the United States. As John Muir stated, "Only what belongs to all alike is reserved, and every acre that is left should be held together under the federal government as a basis for a general policy of administration for the public good."